Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon to all my friends and viewers. Welcome to my live stream. Now, let's continue our topic about theoretical foundations of nursing, the Philippines perspective. Euphemia F. Octavio RMMN Ed D. Carl A. Balita RM Man Dr. Ham. Excuse me. In chapter 4, my topic is the significance of theories to nursing as a profession, criteria profession by William Shephered 1948, by Flexner A 1915. Nursing's theory on the nurse's practitioner, environmental theory, Florence Nightingale getting to know the theories, first the nurse educators, the lady with the lamp nurse statisticians awards, and later life theoretical sources of Nightingale theory, education's literature, intellectuals, religious use of empirical evidence nursing. Metaparadigm by nursing, theoretical assertion, acceptance by nursing committee, analysis, and applications. Again, let's proceed to our topic. Okay. Our topic, the significance of theories to nursing as profession. Nursing is rooted from needs of humanity and founded on the ideals of service. Virginia Henderson's Nurse Theories. A recovering patient who was about to be discharged in the medical surgical wards walked outside the office room and observed the morning care done by the nurses. He saw how nurses took care of the other patients with warm and personal touch like they were the only patients in the entire hospital before the physicians arrived from their morning rounds. The nurses and the nursing students moved about with an almost fluid motion and a sense of purpose, fast but not awkward, with haste but never sacrificing the quality of service. He also noticed that every patient the nurses changed their approach, gave their signatures brands of communicating. They well understood the needs, feelings, and concerns of the patients, sometimes even before they knew it themselves. Approaching the nursing student, he asked how nurses learn to give these types of care. In a unique way, the student's kind reply was, "We have theories about that, sir." Theory is of significance because it helps us to settle on what we know and what we need to know in the future. It helps the differentiates what should form the basis of practice by clearly describing what nursing does and what nursing is all about. Nurse note, the benefits of having a defined body of knowledge include improved patient care, enhanced professional status, improved communications between nurse professional, and guide for research and education. In addition, because the main exponents of nursing caring cannot be measured, it is vital to have the theories to analyze and explain what nurses do. Ideally, nursing theory should provide the principles that support nursing practice. In history, many nurses disputed that most theories were not related to what really happens in the clinical practices. However, due to the virus study and researches, there was a modern transfer towards evidence-based practice in which nursing theories were proven and tested to be helpful in nursing care. Therefore, knowledge is not a statistic, rather it continues to grow in relation to the goals of nursing for the human and social welfare of the society. As a medicine tries to make a move towards adopting a more multidisciplinary approach to healthcare, nursing continues to strive to establish a unique body of knowledge. Nursing's concept of theories have improved since Nightingale stated one of the earliest concepts of nursing as about a profession that requires knowledge distinct from medical knowledge. Nightingale, 1860. The overall goal of this knowledge is to explain the practice of medicine, psychology, and social work. Jean and Kramer, 2004, Psychology and Social Work. When we think about nursing's profession, we came up with ideas and thoughts about the significance of care, love, compassion, and competent clinical practices. We may have depictions of a female nurse who is wearing complete sets of medicine tray. To understand the source of these ideas, questions can be asked. How do these nursing theory guides evaluations and develops of the nursing profession? Nursing was the subject of sociological studies concerning professions, development in the studies, and use ways of criteria. Criteria Profession by William Shephered, 1948. Number one, a profession must satisfy an indispensable social needs and be based upon well-established and social accepted scientific principle. Number two, it must be demands adequate pre-professional and cultural training. Three, it must be demands the professions of a body of specialized and systematized training. Number four, it must give evidence of needed skill which the public does not possess, that is skill which are partly inherent and partly acquired. Number five, it must have developed a scientific technique which is the result of tested experience. 6. It must be required the exercise of discretion of judgment as to time and manner of the performance of duty. This is contrast to the kind of work which is subject to standardizations in terms of units performance or time element. 7. It must have a group of consciousness designed to extend scientific knowledge in technical language. 8. It must have sufficient self-impelling power to retrain its member through life. It must not be used as merely stepstones to other occupations. Number 9. It must recognize the obligations to society by insisting that its members live up to an established code of ethics. That is the Criteria of Profession by William Shephered, 1948. Criteria for Profession by Flexner A, 1915. Number 1. A profession supply its body of knowledge in practical services that are vital to human welfare and especially suited to the tradition of seasoned practitioners shaping the skills of newcomers to the role. 2. It constantly enlarges the body of knowledge its use subsequently imposes of its members of a life's long obligations to remain current in order to do no harm. 3. A profession functions autonomously with authority in the formulation of professional policy and monitoring its practice and practitioner. Number 4. It utilizes in its practice as well-defined as well-organized body of knowledge that is intellectual in nature and described in phenomenon and practitioners. 5. A profession as a clear standards of educational preparation for entry into practice. 6. A profession is distinguished by the presence of specific cultures, norms, and other values that are common among its members. These criteria have a historical significance because they provide understanding on the developmental path that nursing follows. There are similarities and differences in the set of criteria used to evaluate the status of professions. However, they all include the importance of developing and using the body of knowledge that is a basis to the practice of certain professions. Nursing. Nurse note: as a nurse grows and matures in their professional status, the use of ample knowledge as a basis for theorist-based nursing in characteristics of their practice. This commitment to theory based on practice is helpful to the nurse-patient relationships because it provides an organized, educated approach to the nursing practice. It also serves to professions of nursing because nurses are known for the contributions they make in the healthcare of humanity. Professional practice requires a systematic approach that is focused on the patient's. Nursing theoretical works provide perspective of the patients to the conceptual models of nursing are complete and they guide to the readers the details of practice. The nursing theories are more specific and they provide more directions for practice. The application of existing theories to nursing forms new knowledge. It is the way in which existing information combined and used that makes it unique. For the nursing practice to grow and develop application of knowledge, it is of great importance to expand competency and effectiveness of nursing interventions to improve clients' outcome. In a nutshell, nursing theories give out immense source of knowledge to interpret, explain, and clarify the essence of what really nursing is. Moreover, it is useful tool for reasoning, critical thinking, and decision making in nursing practice. Nursing theory and nurse practitioner. Excuse me. Theory helps to the nurse to: number one, organize, examine, and analyze patients' data. 2, makes decisions about effective and efficient nursing intervention. 3, make a smart means specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bounded plans of care. And lastly, predict and evaluate outcomes of care. Things to remember: nursing theory-based practice provides the principles that support nursing practice, profession with specialized fields of practice, lines of work. Nurse practitioner practice the professions of nursing with applications of acquired nursing knowledge and concept. Criteria, sets of rules and principles against which something may be evaluated. Now let's proceed to the activities. Help Florencia become more effective and efficient nurse through the helps of nursing theory. Fill in the blanks with the significance of nursing theory to nurse practitioners. Nursing theory help. 4 blanks. So to all my friends and viewers, you can answer this in your paper. Now, another instruction. What do you think? You can answer this in your papers, all my friends and viewers. What do you think will happen if theories in nursing were not formulated? Cite an example now on how this will affect our present healthcare system. In chapter 7, environmental theory, I think one's feeling weighs themselves in words they ought all to be distilled into action which bring results. Getting to know the theories. Florence Nightingale, the matriarch of modern nursing, was born in Florence, Italy on May 12, 1820. As she grew up, her fathers provided her with a reputable education, which was a common for Victorian women. Women in those times were often as educated as well as men. According to her biographer, Sir Thomas Cook, Nightingale was a linguist, had a vast knowledge of science, mathematics, literature, and the arts, was well read in philosophy, history, politics, and economics, and was well informed about the workings of government and political science. She wanted to do more with her life than become an inactive wife of an aristocrat. Florence had infirm with faith in God. She was Unitarian Christian and 4 times believed she had a religious calling. First nurse educator. While Nightingale was struggling with decisions about her life, the seeds of modern nursing were being planted in Germany. Germany was the place of the first nursing school in 1936. Pastor Theodor Flexner as a Protestant pastor in a Kaiserswerth, Germany, opened a hospital in a vacant textile factory with 1 patient. 1 nurse and cook. Hedge 1990. When Flexner recognized there was no staff for the hospital, he decided to design a school of nursing. Nightingale went to Kaiserswerth and stayed for 14 days in 1850. After a trip to Egypt, she applied for admissions to the school with 12 phase handwritten curriculum showing her interest or becoming a nurse and entered the nursing program July 6, 1851 as the 134th nursing student in attend the Flexner School of Nursing. She left Kaiser Worth on October 7, 1851 and he was considered to be educated as nurse. During the 3 months of studying with the Sisters of Kaisers, she developed skill in both nurse care and management which she took back to England. When Nightingale went back to England, she used the knowledge for Kaiser Worth to prove her cause as a reformer for the well-being of the citizens. The Lady with the Lamp in Crime and War. With her lamps, Nightingale traversed the nights during the Crimean War, the Battle of English versus Turkish, to look the wounded soldiers and to heal them with her consoling hands. Nightingale went to the front of the Crimean War at the request of her friend, Sir Sidney Herbert, secretary at war at Great Britain. She arrived in Scutari on November 5, 1854, accompanied by 38 nurses. Nightingale's 19th month stay at military was hard for many to accept. The hospital barracks were infested with fleas and rats, and sewage flows under the wards. She used superb statistical and managerial skill to make drastic changes in the mortality rate of soldiers and victims of war. The mortality rate of the hospital was 42.7% of those treated mortality rate, which was higher from disease from the war injuries. Cohen, 1984, 6 months after the mortality rate of the hospital went down 2.2%. She achieved this drop in mortality by attending to the environments of the soldier. Nightingale became a hero in Great Britain as a result of her words in the Crimean War. Her depictions of the very poor sanitary conditions, the hospital wards at Scutari is overwhelming. She fought the bureaucracy for foods, bandage, fresh bedding, and cleaning supplies for the soldiers. At times, she bought supplies with her finances. She shown concern for the comfort of English soldiers, well injured or sick, including supporting the establishments of laundry, library, assistance with lettering, writing, banking systems, so the soldier could save their pay. A hospital for the family who go with the soldiers go too far. Also, she provides comfort and security to the seriously sick and drying. Her skill in the decisions making were often better those of many officers in the army. She spends the year after Crimea establishing school of nursing and influencing public policy by lobbying her acquaintances about several of her concerns. Nurse statisticians. Nightingale was truly skilled nurse. She was an expert statistician who used statistics to present her case for hospital reform. She was viewed as pioneer in the graphic display of statistics, and she was selected a fellow of the Royal Statistics Society in 1858. In 1974, honorary members in the American Statistical Association was bestowed on her given her dependence on observable data to support her position. It can be said Nightingale was the first nurse researcher. Besides that, she was also an excellent writer. Her writing notes and matters affecting the health efficiency and hospital administrations of the Birth Army's notes on hospital and reports of measures adopted for sanitary improvements in India. From June 1869 to June 1870 show her growing concerns about these issues, particularly for the military. Also, her most frequently cited work notes of nursing was written not as nursing text but to give hints for thoughts of women who have personal charge of the health of others. Awards and later life. In her lifetime, Nightingale's work was recognized to the numerous awards she gained from Great Britain and many other countries. Notably, she was the first woman to be granted the Order of Merit (OM) and the Royal Red Cross (RRC) by no less than Queen Victoria of Great Britain during her time. She was the second most famous British after the Queen herself. Recipients of the awards are entitled to use the post-nominal letters OMRC on their names. She was able to work into her 80s and die in her sleep on August 30, 1910. At the ripe age of 90, she is honored each year in the commemorative service at St. Margaret's Church, Eastwell, Great Britain, where she is buried. The news, however, that spread across the world, and she instantly became a celebrated and legendary person. Florence Nightingale is the famous nurse of the Crimean War and the only woman who over received the Order of Merit, died yesterday afternoon at her London home. Although she had been an invalid for a long time, rarely leaving her room where she passed the time in a half recumbent position and was under the constant care of a physician. Her death was somewhat unexpected. A week ago she was quite sick but improved, and on Friday was cheerful during the night. Alarming symptoms developed and she gradually sank until 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon when the end came. The New York Times, 1910. Theoretical source of Nightingale theory is a lot of factors influence that improve of Nightingale theory for nursing. Individual, societal, and professional values were all essential to the development of her works. She combined her individual resources with societal and professional resources to create a great impact of change. Educations. Nightingale's education from her father, he was unusual, one of Victorian women. Her mastery in subjects such as mathematics and philosophy from her intellectual father provided her with the knowledge and conceptual thoughts that was exceptional for women of her time. Her auntie May, as devoted relative, described her as being a highly intellectual being. This was a description not used to describe Victorian women, but one absolutely accepted for Nightingale. It remains unknown whether or not Nightingale was a genius. Was developed her prominence through her formal education. However, she would have liked been political or civil society leader if she been born in modern times. Literature. The noble family of Nightingale provided her with access to persons of power and influence. Many were family friends, such as Stanley Herbert, who remains important to Nightingale all through her life. In Charles Dickens' novels, The Adventures Martin Charles Lewis, the hypnotist Sir Graham, a drunken and expressed a horrible nurse which provided society with an image of the terror of the Victorians untrained nursing. Nightingale's influence Dickens unconscionably served as a factor of her definitions of nurses and healthcare, provided her with discussions to convey her views about social and healthcare issues. Intellectuals. Political leaders, intellectuals, and social reformers like John Stuart Mill, Benjamin Jowett, Edwin Chadwick, and Harriet Martineau influenced Nightingale's theoretical and rational thinking, with as manifested in her theory for nursing. Most likely, this dialogue inspired her to change the things she viewed as unacceptable in the society. Religious belief. Lastly, Nightingale's faith and religion were very significant for her nursing theory. She believed the actions for the benefits of others is primary way of serving God, which is the basis for defining her nursing work as a religious calling. In addition, her Unitarian faith strongly supports the education of a person as means of developing their divine potential and serving them towards perfection in their lives and service to God. Her faith provide her with personal strength throughout her lives and provide her with the convictions that education was a significant factor in establishing the professions of nursing. Use of empirical evidence. Through Nightingale's notable contributions regarding health and sanitary conditions in the Crimean War and England, she was honored as an excellent scientist and researcher. Her proficiency as a statistician and also manifested on the reports that she generated throughout her lifetime on different subjects of healthcare, nursing, and social reform. The efficacy of her hospital nursing system and organization during the Crimean War is perhaps her finest known work. Her unique written report of her experiences and collected data in notes on matters affecting the health efficiency and hospital administration of the British Army was submitted to the British Royal Sanitary Commission. This commission had been organized in response to Nightingale's charge of deprived sanitary conditions. This report provided a strong argument in favor of her proposed reform in Crimean War hospital barracks. According to Cohen's shape made up the polar area diagram, a type of statistical diagram to noticeably represents 2 points of useless death in the British military hospital in the Crimea. Cohen's noticed the work of Nightingale as both of researchers and statistically by stating that she helped the pioneer in the revolutionary notions that social phenomena could be objectively measured and subjected to mathematical analysis. Partners identifies Nightingale research scale as including recordings, communicating order, ordering, encoding, conceptual, inferring, analyzing, and synthesizing. The observation of social phenomena at both an individual and systems level was particularly important to Nightingale and serves as the basis of her writings. She highlighted the simultaneous use of observations and the performance of tasks in education of nurses. Metaparadigm in nursing. Nightingale had always considered that nursing is very essential for everybody's well-being. One of her masterpiece notes on nursing provide essential principles for rendering and implementing an efficient and effective nursing care. Moreover, she installed an ideal attitude of thinking and acting like real nurses. Persons. Nightingale viewed the essence of a person as a patient. She believed that nurses should perform tasks to and for the patient as well, control the patient's environment to facilitate easy recovery. Predominantly, she explained as passive patient in this religious. However, when there are definite references to the patient's performing self-care where possible, the nurse is particularly instructed to ask the patient about his or her preference. However, Nightingale gives emphasis to the nurse who is in control of the patient's environment. Health. Nightingale's statement regarding health is being well and using every powers that the person has to the fullest extent. In addition, she defines disease as a reparative process that nature instituted from a want of attention. She believed that prevention of disease through environmental control will greatly uplift the maintenance of health. Furthermore, she illustrated modern public health nursing and the more modern concept of health promotion. She compared this concept of nursing as different from caring a sick patients to living better and increased recovery. Environment. Nightingale's statements about condition in the committee are also applicable to her theory. She believed that the six poor people would benefit from environmental improvements that address their physical and mental aspect. She addressed the nurses could be a special role in uplifting the social status of the poor by improving their living situation. Furthermore, a concept of environment was described by Fitzpatrick and Wall as those elements external to and which affects the health of the sick and health person and includes everything from the patient's food and flowers to the patient's verbal and non-verbal interactions with the patient. Theoretical assertion. Nightingale believes that the disease was reparative process. Disease was nature's efforts to remedy a process of poisoning or decay or reactions against the condition in which a person was placed. Nightingale did not provide the definitions of nature. In her writings, she often capitalized the words nature in her writings, thereby suggesting that it was synonymous with word nature in his writing, thereby suggesting it was synonymous with God. Her Unitarian religious belief who would support this view of God as nature. However, when she used the word nature without capitalization, it is unclear whether or not the intended meaning is different and perhaps synonymous with an organic process. Nightingale believes that nursing's role was to prevent an interruption of the reparative process and to nursing's role was to prevent an interruption of the reparative process and to provide optimal conditions for its enhancements. Nightingale was totally committed to nursing education training, although she wrote notes on nursing for all women. Her primary thesis what was the women were to be specially trained to provide care for the sick person and the nurses provides preventive health care. Public health nursing require health even more training. Nightingale also felt the nurses needs to be excellence of the observations of their patients and the environment. This was ongoing activity for trained nurses. In addition, the belief that nurses needed to use common sense in their nursing practice, coupled with their observations, perseverance, and ingenuity. Finally, Nightingale believed that persons deserve good health and that they would cooperate with the nurse in nature to allow the reparative process to occur or alter their environmentals to prevent disease. Although Nightingale has often been maligned and ridiculed for not embracing the germ theory, she very clearly understood the concept of contagions and contaminations through organic materials from the patient and or the environment. Many of her observations are consistent with the concept of infection and the germ theory. For example, she embraced the concept of vaccinations against various diseases. Nightingale also strongly believed that the appropriate manipulation of the environments would prevent disease. This concept underlies modern sanitation activities. Nightingale did not explicitly discuss the caring behavior of nurses. She wrote very little about interpersonal relationship except as they influence the patient's reparatively process. She did not describe the phenomenon of being called to nursing and the needs for commitments to nursing work. From the perspective of Victorian England and her religious belief, these descriptions may describe as caring component of her nursing theory. Finally, Nightingale believed that nurses should be moral agents. She addressed the professional relationship with their patients. She instructed them on the principle of confidentiality and advocated for care to the poor to improve their health and social situation. In addition, she commented on patients' decision making in relevant modern ethical concept. Nightingale called for concise and clear decisions making regarding to the patient, noting that indecisions or changing in the mind is more harmful to the patient that the patient having to make decision. Acceptance by the nursing community. Practice the environmental aspect of Nightingale's theory. Ventilations, warm, quiet diet, and cleanliness remains a significant components of current nursing care until today. This concept, even from the 21st, shows significance as the global society encounters new issue of disease control, like for instance, sanitations and water treatment somehow control sources of disease and sicknesses. In addition, environmental concerns are also utilized by modern architecture. For instance, the terms 6 building syndromes nurses needs to ask whether building and constructions meet the Nightingale's principle of good ventilations and lighting. Moreover, the disposal of waste such as chemical and other toxins also pose challenges to healthcare professionals to reconsider the concept of healthy environment. In places such as clinic as hospital to control for room temperature for individual patients is also considered also the same environment, though it contains technology that helps for recovery by create uncomfortable noise that would affect the healing process. Nurses are looking for these problems by doing different study and researches as they continue to affect the healthcare system. Education. In the Academy, Nightingale's principle of the nurse trainings develop a universal pattern for early nurse training school, beginning with St. Thomas Hospital and King's College Hospital in London. Using the Nightingale model of nursing training, 3 experimental schools were established in the United States in 1873. Bellevue Hospital in New York, New Haven Hospital in Connecticut, and Massachusetts Hospital in Boston. The influence of this training system and maybe many of its principles are still apparent in today's nursing program. Nightingale firmly considered that better practice could result only from better education. She believes that measurements of the art of nursing could not be accomplished through listening examinations, but she used testing methods including case study for nursing trainees at St. Thomas Hospital. Research. Nightingale's expertise in scientific inquiry and statistics continues to assist and define nursing research. She was remarkably efficient and resourceful in her capability to gather and analyze data. Also, her ability to graphically represent data was first identified in the Fuller diagram. Her empirical approach to deal with problems of healthcare delivery is also evident in her various writings. In addition, her concepts have also served as the basis for current researchers, which adds to modern nursing science and practice in different countries. Lastly, she also used brief case studies, possible patterns to demonstrate various concepts she discussed in Notes of Nursing. Simplicity. Nightingale's analysis. Simplicity. Nightingale's believed that the environment was the major components creating illness in a patient. She regarded disease as the reactions of kindly natures against the conditions in which we have placed ourselves. Her theories contains these 3 major relationships. Number 1, environments to patients. 2, nurse to environment, nurse to patient. She recognized not only the dangers of the environments, but she also highlighted the benefits of good environments in preventing illness. The nurse roles includes the management of the environment in a number of ways to improve patients' recovery. She developed the relationship of elements between ventilation, light, and patient's position in the room, cleanliness, darkness, noise, and patient stimulation, sick room, and the rest of the house, and the relationships between the house and the surrounding neighborhoods. In addition, she also recognized the needs to manipulate the environments to prevent disease, as evidenced by discussions of the homes on the force, the workhouses, and preventing exposures of children to measles. Her definition for the nurse and patient's relationship suggests cooperations and collaborations between the nurse and patient. Instances when these are observed include the patient eating pattern and preference, the provision of comforts to the patients, the protection of the patients from emotional distress, and the conservation of energy while allowing the patients to participate in self-care. Generality, Nightingale's theory has been used to provide general guidelines for all nurses practitioners for a number of years. The universality of her concept still remains relevant except for some specific activities. The concept of the nurse, patient, and environment are still applicable and relevant in all nursing settings today. Therefore, it meets the criterion of generality. Empirical precision, Nightingale concept and her theory are often stated completely and are presented as truths rather than tentative testable statements, in contrast to her quantitative research on mortality done in the Crimea. She proposed the nurses should base their practice on observation and experiences rather than systematic and empirical research. Derivable consequences, Nightingale's support for measures of independence and accuracy previously unknown in nursing may still guide and stimulate nurses today. The profession, she urged nurses to provide the physicians with not your opinion, however, respectfully given, but your facts. Likewise, she advised that if you cannot get the habit of observations one way or other, you had better give up of being nurse, for it is not your calling. However, kind and anxious you may be, she consistently viewed humanity with her theories. In nursing, she believed that humanity is general, has potential and ability for growth and change. Deeply religious, she viewed nursing as a means of doing that will of God. Perhaps it was because she viewed nursing as divine callings that as good nurse-patient relationships toward wellness. The Nightingale fundamental principle of environmental manipulation and psychological care of the patients can be applied in modern nursing settings. Her writings continue to motivate creative thinking nurses, and her works give food for thought that continues to encourage the profession. It is only right the Nightingales continues to be honored as the brilliant founders of modern nursing. Nightingale environment theories, Nightingale canons, Nightingale's 1969, nursing process and thought, ventilations and warmth. Check the patient's body temperature, room temperature, ventilation, and foul odors. Create plans to keep the room well ventilated and free odors while maintaining the patient's body temperature. Light. Check room for adequate light. Sunlight is beneficial to the patients. Create and implement adequate light in the room without placing the patient in direct light. Cleanliness. Check room for dust, dampness, and dirt. Keep from dust, dirt, and dampness. Health houses. Check surrounding environment for fresh air, pure water, drainage, cleanliness, and light. Remove garbage, stagnant water, and ensure clear water and fresh air. Noise. Check noise level in the room surrounding. Attempt to keep noise level in minimum. Bed and bedding. Check bed and bedding for dampness, wrinkles, and soiling. Keep that bed dry, wrinkle-free, and lowest height to ensure comfort. Personal cleanliness. Attempts keep the patients dry and clean at all times. frequent assessments of the patient's skin is essential to maintain good skin integrity. Variety, attempt to accomplish variety in the room and with the client. This is done with cards, flowers, pictures, and books. Also encourage friends or relatives to engage in stimulating activity. Chattering hopes and advices. Avoid talking without giving advice that is without a fact. Respect the patient as a person and avoid personal talk. Taking good checks the diet of the patient, knows the amount of food and fluid ingested by the patients of every meal. Petty management. This ensures continuity of care, documents the plan of care, and evaluates the outcomes to ensure continuity. Observations of the sick. Observe and record anything about the patient. Continue observation in the patient's environmental and make changes in the plans of care if needed. Application of Nightingale's theory assessments. Nena, 19 years old female from the rural area of Batangas, was injured in an accident related to farm machinery. She had a head injury and was conscious, but she is not oriented to place and time. She had multiple bruises and deep leg wounds with dirt and debris from the farm equipment to injure. She was transported to the nearest hospital and admitted to crowded intensive care unit ICU. In the ICU, slides were 24 hours a day. Noises from equipment can be heard continuously from the units, and visits by her parents were limited. After 2 days and nights and disturbed sleep, Nena becoming increasingly confused, and her legs have become infected, requiring dressing changes and antibiotics. Analysis of data. Data's gaps including information about the family structures, who lives in the households, who was present when the injuries helped Nena's performance in school, economic resources available for the family, Nena's nutritional status and evaluation of her growth and development in relations to developmental standards. Overall, the major concern are Nena's lack of sleep and infected wounds. Nursing's diagnosis: disturbed sleeping pattern related to environmental light and noise and separation from the family. Planning and implementations. Number 1. Nursing intervention focus on changing the environment to support normal sleep patterns, that is being awake during the day and sleeping at night. She is encouraged to listen to her favorite music or watch her favorite television shows to expose to her normal sounds. Her parents encouraged to visit more often and talk to her about the futures when she will return to home and school. Next, the nurse should teach Nena about her dressing change and help her adjust in her environment. At night, sleep is supported by dimming the lights, reducing the noise, including lowering the volumes of the alarms, and keeping the minimum activities and procedures that would awaken Nena. Evaluation. After 2 nights of uninterrupted sleep, normal sound, and parental encouragements, Nena will demonstrate increased orientations to place. Being able to identify that she is the hospital, Nena will begin participating in her dressing changes to be the 3rd day of the care plan. Alright, let's go to the activities of Nightingale Quest. Instruction: save Nightingale for the Hangry Lion and help her cross the bridge by enumerating of her environment principle. And nurse worksheet. Instruction: Nightingale stressed the control of the environment is essential in maintaining health. With the environment being polluted every day, how would you contribute in protecting Mother Nature? That is the first question. So you should answer this to all my friends and small YouTuber and viewers. The question is, how would you contribute in protecting Mother Nature? in your daily activities. Cite example your own ways in saving our planet. Alright. This is the end of my topic. And tomorrow I will discuss my next topic about interactive theories. So, to all my friends and viewers, stay tuned. God bless you all. God bless you all. More blessings to come and more power. Bye bye.